I say to the guys all the time, I love wood floors, but I do not want to die and have a tombstone that says, "Here lies Sam, who made a nice floor."
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Scandalabra. I'm your host, Mark Brunetz, and today is a very special day because I get to catch up with someone who I haven't seen in, over a year. He is the chief executive at Real Wood Floors in West Plains, Missouri, and the New York Times describes him as genial, bear-like, a bearded father of 7. But what I know is he also cooks a mean smoked tenderloin. Sam Cobb, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get right into the smoked beef tenderloin. What's your secret? Is it like dry rub? Like, come on.
Low and slow.
Oh,
That's what everyone says, but it really is. That's the way you have to do it. So
yeah, low. No, I hear you. I just spent the last week on a lake in North Carolina, and for the first time, we got dry aged ribeyes.
okay.
Now, are you into dry aging or?
I have done very little of it, but I'm
Yeah.
intrigued. So tell me, what did you dry age them?
Of course not. No, we purchased them already 30-day dry age. I will say though, wow, like really wow. You pay for it, but what a difference. So something for you to think about, put on your radar screen.
Yeah, I'll have to try that.
Yeah. And of course, you have my email, so I'm an invite away.
Okay.
Hey, let's jump right into something we're doing new here on the podcast called Two Truths and a Lie. And I thought this is just a great way for not only to stump me, but also to let our listeners get an idea of who you are. And, so the idea is simple. It's based on the game pretty much everyone knows. You're going to tell me 2 truths and a lie. Nothing too elaborate or detailed. Just, give me the highlights. And I'm going to guess which one is which. All right. You want to start first?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
I have been to Asia over 100 times.
Whoa.
In my youth, I trimmed over 55,000 Christmas trees.
Oh my God. Okay.
And I had a brief stint in the fashion industry, and I have walked down the catwalk.
Oh my gosh. Dude, those are okay. Well, okay, I'm just going to go down them. Asia, I believe you've been there over 100 times. So I'm going to say that's a truth. Something tells me, given where you live, which is in southern Missouri, that it's very possible, but 55,000, that's a lot. But I'm going to say yes on that. And I'm going to say you have not walked down a catwalk.
Well, then I stumped you.
So tell me about this catwalk experience.
Yeah, well, apparently someone had some husky jeans they needed to sell, and I fit the bill. No, I did. There was a local clothing store that used to put on a fashion show every fall here just to kind of promote their new collection, and I got picked.
You got picked. Okay, so what's the lie? Let me guess again. The 55,000 trees.
That's also true.
Dang, you're good.
That's
so
also true.
I know you've been to Asia a lot. How many times have you actually been to Asia then?
It's probably in that 50 to 60 range. I've been a lot, but not that much.
Yeah, so. That's still unbelievable.
All
right, you got me. And my record is really poor on this so far. People are just like pulling the wool over my eyes. But okay, here are mine. Okay, and I made them wood related so that awesome. Just to kind of keep it in the wheelhouse.
Okay.
All right, so I had a client in Beverly Hills. He bought this steel and glass frame home, about 6,000 square feet. And he says, I don't care what you spend. I just want wow. So I ordered African blackwood, which you probably know is a straight grain, hard to get. And we installed it in all 6,000 square feet of the home. That's my first one.
Okay.
Second, my first sailing adventure was on a 42-foot teak boat from LA to Catalina and back. And then I subsequently became a skipper to actually learn how to sail. My last one is I was looking for an exotic wood and fell upon babinga, which at the time in my career I knew nothing about. For those who don't know, it's kind of this pinkish red, dark red, or as I say, puce. That's a designer word, color. And I ended up making master bath vanities. So I got babinga into vanities, a 42-foot teak boat to Catalina, or African blackwood. all over this 6,000 square foot house.
Wow. Um, I'm gonna say the teak boat is the lie.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Yeah, so that was my first venture to
really?
Catalina. It inspired me to become a skipper, captain. It was actually by the head of wardrobe for While You Were Sleeping. I was working on that film,
Okay.
and she lived on this boat and was like,
Wow.
"Hey, do you want to go sailing?"
Amazing.
Yeah, so I'll just cut to the chase here. The lie is the African blackwood.
Okay.
I I think I love that you fell for that too, because like I've always dreamt of using African blackwood, but I never have had the
Okay.
opportunity. So
All right. Well, you got me. You got me.
yeah. So I was thinking about you and us and how we met and how our worlds have collided. And it goes back a couple years. I think you were just published in a feature article in the New York Times. And do you remember that?
I do. I do. Yeah. I think that. Yeah, that was when we first met. That's right.
Yeah, and so and tell us a little bit of just a little bit about that, because I know you were speaking at a hearing up in DC with the International Trade Commission,
Hmm.
and is that something you frequently did? Did you feel like you were representing the industry?
Oh,
Give us a
wow.
snapshot of that.
That is a rabbit hole. But let me try to summarize. So our industry has been subject to some different trade laws and anti-dumping orders and things like that. So I have considered trade law a hobby for about 10 or 11 years. I'm not very good at it because we never won anything. Um, but I went up and fought on behalf of the industry for imports, free and fair trade. But uh, it went the way it went. At the time that we met, though, it was more also in relation to trade, um, but again, some anti-dumping tariffs, or just some tariffs that the Trump administration had levied against China, and I was trying to fight for kind of a level playing field there. And so, New York Times, thought that story was interesting, and I was really torn about whether this was a good idea or not
Mm,
because, um, and it's interesting, and you'll remember this because we were talking about this from a PR standpoint. People read it for what it was, and people read a lot more into it than what it was.
sure.
Um, but at the same time, it was kind of it was fairly neutral, so I don't think it damaged us. Um, but yeah, it was like, just a crazy experience.
Yeah, unfortunately, one of the things that we've learned over the last several years is, we have a way of politicizing so many things, and
For
that is
sure.
not what this show's about. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
Okay.
Other than to say I could see how you might be suspect or set up for that with that
Sure.
particular narrative in the article.
Yeah.
So let's give people a little lay of the land, because real wood floors, West Plains, Missouri. I mean, the average person just thinks of Ozarks, the TV,
Right.
the crime show. um but why West Plains? And
Yeah.
then tell us, like, what does real wood floors do, so that people understand what you do on a daily basis.
Sure. So West Plains, because I was born here, and so I've
Hmm.
lived here most of my life. Um, went away to college, and at the end of college, a gentleman who now is my father-in-law and business partner had started a brand new business and said, "Hey, you're getting ready to graduate. I'm starting a new business in Tulsa. Why don't you come down and work in this startup and help us figure out how to sell wood flooring in the Midwest?" And so, as a soon to be graduated college student, I thought, look, someone is going to trade me dollars for hours of my time. I better take it. So I jumped in at the very bottom level and quickly began to learn what wood flooring distribution was like. So the company is multi-leveled at this point. It's almost what I would say is a truly vertically integrated um, family of companies.
Right.
So we start from timber procurement all the way to flooring design and production.
Okay, well, let's start right there.
Sure.
Timber procurement.
Timber procurement.
So a lot of people don't realize that. They walk into a showroom or store or
Mhm.
whatever and just think wood. It just magically appeared.
Right.
But as I know, because I had the great experience of going to Shanghai with you to Domatex, but it goes way back. So like, talk us through that process. Do you
Sure.
harvest here and then you send there? Like, give us an idea what that's about.
Yeah, so the Ozarks, I mean, the reason there's so many hardwood companies located close to where I'm at here in the Ozarks is it's a great resource for hardwood. So it's plentiful, it's high quality, and so you have a lot of very large hardwood operations in this part of the country. So it's one of Missouri's biggest exports after livestock. Um, so that's why they're here.
Right.
And and yeah, so what that looks like is you have what we call mom and pop sawmills, little operations that may be dad and his son, and they go out and they contract with landowners to cut the timber off of their land, and then they process it into lumber, and then we give them an outlet where they bring all of that lumber into us. Maybe a truckload a week, maybe a truckload every other week, but all these small family operations bring it in, and we grade it. We pay them based on the market price, for this or that grade, and then we turn that lumber into hardwood flooring.
Yeah. So just to put this in perspective, can you just estimate how many square feet a year you guys produce and sell?
Oh, well, um, I'm pretty sure last year it's probably a little over 30 million square feet
Whoa.
that we moved. That's not all produced right here. We
Right.
probably produce 1 million feet a month right here in southern Missouri. So
Yeah, no, that's massive. And so you were talking about timber procurement. So
mhm.
that goes, and so you harvest it here, you send it to, is it only China or other countries as well, or what?
We got started in China years and
Hmm.
years ago. It's almost completely out of China at this point. We're all over the world at this point. I think we're in 9 countries right now.
Yeah. And how do you choose? Is it pure economics? Is it, who you're supporting? Like, give us, like, how do
Sure.
you make those decisions?
Well, what we're looking for is someone who can produce at a very high, consistent level of quality.
Hmm.
And again, because we're sending them our lumber, so we need someone that we can really trust, first
Right.
of all, because we want to make sure that they're using our lumber, being a good steward of that resource, and that we're getting, of course, everything back that we've shipped in. So we work hard to partner and find folks that we can really trust, build relationships with. So some of our producers we've been working with for over 15 years,
Right.
have great relationships with them.
So, inquiring minds want to know, what's the wood flooring in your house?
Well, we just remodeled uh, my wife's grandmother's home. So she had always wanted a herringbone floor,
Hmm.
and I have resisted it for a long time.
Why?
It's a lot of work. Uh,
It's your
it's a,
house,
it
Sam,
is a lot. I know, but
and it's Rachel, and you have 7 kids.
well, yeah, she got what she wanted this time. So
Okay.
we're good. We have a rift and corded white oak herringbone floor. So it's yeah, something that we're very proud of. It's one of our favorite features of the home for sure.
I distinctly remember sitting at your dining room table or kitchen table rather, with all your kids, and is it Jane who did the cartwheels?
Uh, Test as the
Tess.
cartwheels.
Ah, yes, that's all I remember. It was a cartwheel standoff. Um, I have video to prove it too.
It was a great
Um,
evening, wasn't it?
yeah, it was fantastic. How is the family? How is everyone?
Oh, they're doing really well.
Yeah.
Enjoying the summer, and this part of the world is great for getting outdoors, and we have amazing rivers and streams. So we like to spend a lot of time on the river.
Yeah.
It's a great time.
Well, I think I mentioned to you I spent last week on a lake. You'll be proud of me. I went for my mom's 80th birthday, and
Okay.
we caught a bunch of striper bass and cooked
Nice.
it. Yeah, of course. I did come back with an infected thumb because I put a fish hook in my left thumb.
Caught
But
yourself.
yeah,
No.
exactly. I caught myself. All right. So, Sam, I can't help but wonder. I think about all the competitors out there selling hardwood floors, your big box stores, your national chains, the mom and pop stores. What is the real wood floors value proposition? What makes you so unique and different?
Yeah, thanks for that. I think aside from making products that we're really proud of and having a company culture that everyone really loves, our approach is to really try to get to know our clients in an intimate way. Because look, buying a new wood floor, Mark, this is a tens of thousands of dollars type of project, and no one wants to make a mistake. But for anyone that started this process, it's something of a daunting task. So the options seem endless. The categories don't make sense, and there's a lot of imitation products out there that you have to understand. So
Very
I
true.
think
Yeah.
I think the most important thing in choosing a wood floor is working with a company that's going to take the time to really get to know who you are. And I'm not just talking about design criteria, budget; those are really important, of course, but who you are in terms of how do you entertain, how often do you entertain, do you have a dog, how big is your dog, what color is your dog? These things are really important, and making the right decision is you're everyone deserves to have a home they love, and these things all go into making a decision that you can be confident with, and at the end of the day, have a home you love, you're proud of, and you want to show off to everyone.
Yeah, when I hear you, I think about all the nuances of family life and, what it's like to live at home and how you're going to, function in your home. And that's so important when it comes to purchasing hardwood flooring, right? Oof.
Exactly. Yeah, if someone's not willing to take the time to get to know who you are, then I would move on.
So, in your product mix at Realwood Floors, what are you most proud of, like hitting the home run on? What did you guys create that was like, oh, just couldn't keep enough of it?
Well, it's still hanging on. I mean, it's been several years ago, but we what we like to do is say, all right, what are the floors that are being offered just to the very elite, and how can we democratize those and make them available to a wider market segment?
Sure.
And so, and this has been several years ago, of course, but everyone got interested in reclaimed looks, and reclaimed floors are really amazing. What a cool history, that you have to tell,
Right.
and at the same time, they're not available to a wide market segment. The lumber itself costs an enormous amount. It's expensive to produce, but the look was amazing. So we had this rustic, industrial, modern, all this mix of things that was going on, especially in hospitality as well. And we were able to go out and do the research and say, all right, how do we make that? How do we replicate that look, but make it available to a wider market segment? And we spent a long time really studying truly old, you know, floors and mills and barns and things like that, and say, okay, how do we do this? And so I was really proud of that process.
Hmm.
It's a product that, even though from a design standpoint, I feel like that trend has somewhat waned, it's
Hmm.
still selling very, very well for us. So yeah, very proud of that.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Okay, well, then on the flip side, what was a total bust? What were
Oh,
you like, oh God, we have to do this? And it just like zero, it tanked.
that's an interesting one. We try to really find a good mix between going out and innovating in looks, but at the
Hmm.
same time, we try to really stay in tune with the market.
Hmm.
One of the things that we did go out and do one time, and it was funny because we all felt like, yeah, we don't feel real great about this, but let's launch it. And it was the one time that we went out and we really just tried to knock off, kind of, the three or four other things that we weren't doing, but that were really popular. And we didn't feel great about doing it, but we felt like that's what the market wanted, and it complete. I mean, we hit the looks, and the thing just completely bombed. And it was really a good message to us, like, you know what, you got to trust your instinct. We can innovate and make some things that the market's going to like. We may be a little early on a few things. We have to wait a little bit, but just going out and knocking off whatever is popular out there, it just did not serve us well.
Yeah,
Um, so
good lesson. I'm equally as guilty. I've done that definitely at times in my career. And I think what you're pointing to is this kind of sinking feeling
mhm,
of like, oh, did I just sell out? And
right,
then
yeah,
boom,
for sure,
and on top of it, it didn't sell. So you're like, just a really good reminder to keep things aligned with your integrity.
yeah.
Um, on that note, this is a good time to take a break. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, I want to take a moment to thank Misio Home for supporting Scandalabra. Imagine having access to the creative minds of the world's best artisans, designers, and dreamers. Misio Home was launched for design savvy enthusiasts just like you and me because we appreciate original works, quality materials, and above all, how our home makes us feel. And now we have a very special code from Misio that will get you, our listeners, 20% off. Just use the word podcast at checkout and you will receive 20% off on your next purchase. Thank you, Misio. That's MISSIO home.com. All right, welcome back. We are here with Sam Cobb of Real Wood Floors. And this is not because you're on Scandalabra, but I love your cleaning product. Oh my God. I think I'm on my last bottle
Oh,
that I bought. Like, comes those little, yeah, it's awesome. It
well,
smells
I
good
have your
too.
address, so we can take
Yeah,
care of
yeah.
that.
No, but it's good. Like, what was the impetus behind that? I mean, I know it's all natural and, just
You
as
know, with
it works.
the number one question as a wood floor manufacturer we get is what I do to clean it. And for years and years, we would just say, "Oh, here's the leading recommended brand," and we were using it ourselves and not really happy with it. And so we thought, there's got to be a way to do this differently. So one of our core values as a company is innovation.
Hmm.
And so we went out and bought every cleaner that we could find. We tested them kind of in an unscientific way just here, but then we actually narrowed it down and we sent it to the University of Massachusetts and said, you tell us which one is the best one. So they have all these different tests that they run, and they came back and said, it's this one. And it was a relatively unknown manufacturer, and was close by. We had a relationship with them already, and we said, hey, let's work together on this product. And so we helped develop what I feel like is the best hardwood floor cleaner out there. So
Yeah, I think I love it so much too because it doesn't really leave a residue. It's like really dries clean. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Real Clean Floors. Love it. Highly recommend it. But this is a great place to switch gears. I remember you saying something to me a few years back, and I'm going to really put you on the spot here, which was, I could be selling French fries or, a chain of restaurants or, making clothes, whatever. In this case, you're selling hardwood floors. Right. Because what you're really committed to is something else. And I found that really remarkable because you've had huge success in the wood flooring business, but yet at the end of the day, that was not your priority. So what is your priority?
My wife and I had always been interested in adopting. And so, and over the years, we did adopt 3 different times. And just through a series of events, I realized that, the guys that were working for me were interested in that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a situation where I found myself in China at an orphan care facility, was just amazingly moved by the work that they were doing on behalf of some really marginalized kids. And they had a nice little facility, but they had terrible floors. And just being very moved by what they were doing, I said, you know what, I'd like to get you some new floors. Well, what I really meant to say was I can get you some new flooring material, and you can have someone come in and remove these old ones and put some new floors down. And
that didn't happen, did it?
I didn't communicate it that clearly. And so the orphanage director called about a month later and said, hey, when are you going to come to Beijing and put those floors in? And I thought, oh no, what did I do? But a lot of our customers are wood flooring installers, and they're really good folks. And so I said, you know what, let's just see what happens. So I picked up the phone. I called this installer, never been out of the country before. And I said, hey, what do you think about installing a floor in an orphanage in China? And his first response was, yeah, what does it pay? And I said, well, it actually pays nothing, and I need you to buy your own plane ticket to go. And, went on to explain to him that I was donating this floor. And, he stopped me and he said, for sure, you just tell me when we're going and I'll make it happen. And I was like, are you kidding me? And he's like, nope. He said, you get the floors made, get them down there, and we'll get on a plane and go make it happen. So he got a passport, and he called several of his competitive friends, and he cajoled all of them saying, hey, Sam needs some help. We're going to China and we're going to install this floor. And so I was just so shocked that they agreed to do it. So we did. We made a floor, shipped it down there. We all got on the plane, went over there, spent 10 days, got it all done. And the most amazing thing, Mark, is they turned to me afterwards and they said, when can we do it again? And I was like, I was looking at this thinking this is a neat one-time deal. And little did I know that it would really play into just the development of the thinking around why the company exists at all. So that was kind of an accidental thing, but it really played into it. And so as we spent time working through those big questions, and we hired some great consulting firms that really helped us think through big questions around why the company exists. And we eventually landed on, this company exists to work until the day that every orphan has a home. And it obviously resonated with me. I didn't know if it'd resonate with my guys, but they were 100% all in. And so what a relief, right? Because at some point I remember thinking to myself, whose rules am I trying to play by? I own the company. I can make the company about whatever I want it to be about.
Right.
And we love wood floors. It's a great industry. It's a natural product. It's beautiful. We like interior design. That's great. But it's an economic engine, for us to accomplish the thing that we really feel like gives meaning, to what we do.
Mm-hmm. It's an incredible story, and I'm fortunate to have heard it, a few years ago. And I think that's one of the reasons you're in my life, and hopefully I'm in yours. I know firsthand, Sam, that connection of you feel like you're asking people the world, and you just don't know what you're going to get in return. but people show up, and they really show up, and I think it's really at the heart of what it is to be human. People are looking for ways to contribute, and sometimes you just have to create the platform. In this case, it was a wood floor.
Yeah, I agree. When I think back on some of these wood floor installers, and now they've been all over the world with us. I mean, they
Hmm.
literally have been to Cambodia and China, and we've taken them to Zambia to do projects, on behalf of orphans, and they've just gone every time. And I think what you're right. I think what happened was we gave them an opportunity to take their natural gifting and use it to bless someone beyond just getting a paycheck, for doing a good job. And that to them was worth more than the money.
Mm.
And so just being able to give them that opportunity again and again. And this era has been tough because travel is obviously suspended, but they're calling me constantly like, when are we going next? And where are we going? So
That is so cool. You can tell I'm kind of at a loss for words because I'm just so obviously taken by that story. And as you continue, I think you kind of glazed over it. How many projects now have you done? I mean, you guys are really on fire.
yeah, I think that's I want to say we're up to 8
Wow.
projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, it culminated with at one point that story hit the trade publication. It's one of the hardwood flooring trade publications, and we had a big project. And Mark, I was getting calls from people. I got a guy from South Africa. We had several guys from Britain just call and say, "Hey, I'll meet you in China. I'm going to be part of this." I'm like, I have no idea who these people are, but they just showed up, and people came from all over the world and helped complete that project.
So, Sam, what would be the predictable future of the orphans that these amazing organizations are helping? You're stepping in to help these organizations. Just give us a little idea of what that would look like.
Yeah, so you had organizations working at lots of different levels. Some swooping in just to give care to kids who have recently been abandoned, and that's really just stabilizing. Making sure they have a nice warm bed to sleep in. They're being fed and cared for, and so there's that. Then you have other organizations that are taking on. Maybe they're saying let us raise these kids. So it varies by country because the
Hmm.
laws are so different. Um, then you have organizations. One of the ones that we just recently started working with, they're working at that apex point, Mark, where this child is on the precipice of being abandoned. Can we stop it?
Mm.
Can we keep the family together? And the most amazing thing is it's economically uh, the highest return on investment in terms of how to solve the issue, but it's
Hmm.
the best solution. Like, let's just keep the family from being torn apart. And so these guys were doing some amazing work on what we would say, family preservation of, how do we stop this from happening at all? And so oftentimes it's an educational issue, of course, and it's a poverty issue. They can't feed for the kid. They can't feed the kids, and so they feel compelled to give them up, or they just can't get them the education that they need, and so they feel just like there's nothing that they can do in that situation. And so it's very different across that spectrum. Organizations working at very different levels, but we feel really strongly that if what we would like to try to do is to be a catalyst to say, how can we solve this problem in a region, right? Because we've already said the company's going to work towards the day that it's solved completely.
Right.
And so what we feel really compelled to right now is to pick a region. We work a lot in Cambodia, and we see some amazing things happening there, but it's fragmented and it's a little bit siloed. And it's how can we come in and be a catalyst to say, hey, you know what? Let's get our head around the problem and let's see monetarily what it would take to fix the problem, systems, people, tools, all the things we need. And let's wrap our heads around it and say, hey, you know what, here it could be solved if we had this, this, and this.
Hmm.
And we don't see folks working, to do that. But as business people, solving strategic problems, it's we bring something to the table that even nonprofits or charitable or faith-based groups maybe don't bring. They're doing fantastic work, but if we could just say, hey, um, can we get our heads around the whole problem and what would it take to solve it completely? That's what gets us really excited.
Yeah, and it would seem that being able to solve it in an isolated area would then be the pilot, if you will, the footprint for
Right.
other areas, right?
Sure. Yeah, you could turn to the world and say, look, it can be done. Here's the
Hmm.
components. Here's what it takes. What's funny is, we've been in Cambodia long enough now that we really have a good understanding. You know, if you have a child that's abandoned, here's what it's going to take to get them from here to here, right?
Hmm.
We know what it would cost to keep a child from being abandoned. I mean, we have our head around that, and so then just saying, okay, well, what's the size and scope of the problem today? How do we limit it, and then how do we eliminate it going forward? And that's like we're wood flooring guys, but that's the things that we talk about that we get really excited about.
Yeah, I think the average person doesn't even realize or even understand the situation with orphans worldwide. I mean, we see snippets of media, but you've traveled to these places many times. You've also adopted. So, talk a little bit about that. I know you have a big family, and I was fortunate to meet them last time I was in your area. What was that process like for you personally? Because your work started over there. Well, it started here, went over there, and now it's back. It's literally under your roof.
Right, right. Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. Just what the girls. We have 7 children, 4 biological, and 3 adopted. And so our three of our 4 daughters are from China and have been adopted over the last 10 years. And it's just added such a layer of richness to our lives to be able to parent them. But yeah, to also to really grasp what's at stake there, because on my second trip to China to adopt our daughter Blythe. On that trip, we got a unique experience. They took us to a social welfare institute, and we got to see what would happen to the kids who didn't get adopted. And once they turn a certain age in China, and actually it's changed recently, so it's actually changed for the better. But at that point, once they hit a certain age, the future was just pretty bleak. I mean, they were
Mm.
going to be in kind of an institutional care facility and not a lot of opportunity. And I remember this young kid sitting over in the corner, and he was probably 20. And I went to talk to him, and he was missing his right arm, and he was typing away on a keyboard, one handed, and just doing, just working so hard. And I said, "What are you up to?" And he's like, "I'm trying to figure out if I can get into school."
Mm.
And I said, "Well, who's helping you?" And he's like, "Oh, no one. I'm just trying to figure it out." And I just thought, wow, that's such a picture of, you know, uh, yeah, just how much need there is,
Hmm.
the world over for someone to step in and and do something. And what we find every day is we have families who are like, you know what, we would consider adoption, but it's so unknown to us and so scary, and we just don't know about it. And so, adv- just advocating on behalf of the programs is a big part of what we do as well. So we do a lot of adoption grants, and
Hmm.
my wife Rachel.
Hmm.
I actually have 2 phone calls for today with people like that have called me saying, "Hey, we're interested in adoption. We don't know the first thing," and I'm like, "I've got an expert, and I'll set you up with a 2 o'clock call." And so she loves talking those things through with folks and helping them understand, some of the intricacies with international and just all the different things that are available and ways that you can help.
And just to illuminate the impact you've had, you talk about grants and really championing these adoptions. How many have you been a part of so far?
Yeah, well, we've done over 100 adoption grants at this point.
Wow.
I think with the one that we awarded yesterday, it was probably 105 or something like that. Um, but I don't want to I don't want to overstate what we've been able to do, Mark. The thing that gets me excited is that I really feel like I feel a responsibility as a business owner to try to tell other business owners the same thing that I learned. That, hey, you know what? There's something in your past where your heart came alive in the service of other people, and you own the business. You can do whatever you want with it. Why don't you make that the focus of it? It doesn't matter if you make shoes or floors or you own a restaurant. If you went on a project to deliver clean water to folks in Guatemala, and that really lit your heart on fire, then by all means, like, make it a part of your everyday business. I mean, I just hope that we can speak to people on that level and help encourage them, because we're still a really small company, and I'm very proud of the impact we've had. But I think multiplying the impact, um, by getting other business owners out there to think through what does my company exist to do, and why can't I make that about whatever I want it to be about.
That's such great advice. It's funny when I hear you talk, Sam. I think you're so wise beyond your years. Although I do have a question. What would the wise man of today give advice to the younger Sam if you had the ability to do that?
I think that's it. I think I wish I had learned a little bit quicker or thought,
Hmm.
'cause, you're a marketing guy too. You understand. I was trying so hard to shoehorn my mission into what I did. I mean, in terms of flooring. So I'll give you an example. So we kept saying like, oh, we make wood floors so you can have a beautiful home so that this child can have a home at all. And it
Hmm.
was like, oh, it's like, well, that just seems a little bit forced. And it was like we're working so hard to try to make it mesh, and it's like so freeing to be like, whose rules are we playing by? Like,
Mm.
we can make this about what it doesn't have to align so perfectly. We can make great wood floors, and we can be all about it and be very excited about it, and our mission can be in orphan care, and that's okay. It's just
Yeah.
feeling that freedom to be like, no, we can make this about whatever we want it to be about. And I've had people hit me with, oh, is that a distraction? No, it's not. Do you know what? It makes my guys so much more passionate about what they do, and it infuses meaning into everyone in my staff. If they know, and they do know because we talk about it constantly,
Hmm.
here's the missional objectives, here's the way that we fulfilled it, and we talk about it every week. For the person who's making collection calls, for the person that's out doing cold calls trying to get builders to talk to them, to the guys unloading, containers in the warehouse, like there is meaning that goes so far beyond just what they're doing every day. And, you know, I feel a great responsibility as a CEO to say, look, you guys are going to give me 67% of your waking hours. And I feel a responsibility to infuse it with meaning beyond just making money for me or for you or whoever. No, that's not enough. I say to the guys all the time, I love wood floors, but I do not want to die and have a tombstone that says, "Here lies Sam. He made a nice floor." That's just not for me.
Yeah.
But it's to be able to gift that to the people that work for me and say, "Hey, we made a big difference." That's really important to me, and I take that responsibility very seriously.
Clearly, and I love that. Wow, this has been such a great conversation. You've tapped into so many things, and I just want to go on the record now publicly as saying I am next in line for your next project overseas. Now, I know you've got a lot of people chomping at the bit there, but just know I'm always available. We've talked about this before. Yes, the pandemic kind of shut us down a little bit, but I am so ready to hop on a plane and be a part of that process. And I think where I could really contribute is in helping tell the story, and
Yeah,
documenting and
I
archiving it.
I hope you're able to do that. That would be fantastic. And what I can commit to on my side is an adventure, two, big beers, and three, we will make a difference in the lives of some kids. And so let's go make it happen.
Yeah, that's really what it's all about. So I would imagine there are listeners out there thinking, I want to know more about adoption, or I want to know more about these projects you're doing overseas. I love this world. I love what you're talking about. But let's just talk about adoption for a moment. What's a first good place to start?
Well, again, I say it jokingly, but my wife is a great asset here, and we can make her email available in the show
Yeah.
notes if you like, and she would be happy to talk to. I mean, it's really one of the things that just she just loves to do. And so, a couple of things I would say. It is an ever changing landscape from
Hmm.
country to country to country. So it is. You do need to do a little research. You
Hmm.
need to know what programs are good, what programs are questionable. How do I steer clear of ethics issues and things like that, because there's some things you just have to know about, but there are resources. And so my wife Rachel's a great resource. Other great resources out there that she can point you to. There's grants available. People always start with, money is going to be an issue,
Hmm.
adoption's expensive. It is expensive. There are a lot of great resources out there that we can point you to, and also there's a lot of great organizations that democratize the process. From a financial standpoint,
Hmm.
we do that. We partner with folks all the time to do that. A couple of things that we lean into and we coach people in is our approach is always it's got to be families for kids, not kids for families, and so
Mm.
we orient ourselves around that. When you think about international adoption, for example, people get terrified when they think about um, you know physical or mental disabilities, and
Hmm.
people just get terrified, and I totally understand. all three of my daughters have from chronic heart disease, which we've gone through, which I thought we are crazy. My wife
Yeah.
Rachel is great and full of faith, and was like, we can tackle this. And so, but all the way to the the cleft palate or even webbed toes. I mean,
Hmm.
some of the things are really they're not daunting at all. And so don't let that scare you away. It's just something you just need to work through, and you can set your parameters for what would be acceptable, what you wouldn't consider. And so um, there's a lot of personalizing it and dialing it in for things that would you'd be comfortable with. So anyway, yeah, there's a ton of resources out there, but honestly, I mean, let's blow up Rachel's email and just let's fill up her calendar. If you have people that want to talk about it, we will walk through that process.
Yeah, we'll make a point to put her email address in our show notes. So thank you for that. That's a very generous offer. Of course, if Rachel now texts me or blows up my phone, I'll know why. Sam Cobb, thank you so much for being on the show today. I adore you. You know that. You're very dear to my heart, and I appreciate your time, and best to you and the family, and I'm sure we'll be catching up soon.
Absolutely. All my love to you, and appreciate everything that you do, and thanks for having me on.
All right, take care. This has been an MBU production. To learn more, go to markbrunetz.com. That's MarkBrunetz.com.